This is Just Say HIE, the official podcast of the Hope for HIE Foundation. I'm Betsy Pilon, your host, bringing the stories of the HIE community from around the world to you, our listeners. Hope for HIE is a nonprofit organization and the largest collective of HIE families anywhere in the world, and each story across all outcomes has its own version of hope to share. Join us as we explore each unique journey and connection. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Say HIE, or Just Say Hi. And today I'm really excited to welcome one of our families who lives over in Tanzania. And we are just so excited to bring different perspectives around the world of our HIE family. So Shiru, welcome. Please introduce yourselves and tell us all about you.
Thank you, Betsy. I don't know where to start. So my name is Shiru. In full, all my names are Esther Wanjiru Muigai Mnaro. So Esther Wanjiru are my names. Muigai, my dad's name. Mnaro, my husband's name. I am a mother of 3 kids, 3.5, because there's another one in the stomach, so I'll say 3.5. And our HIE baby is our baby number 2, and his name is Malik. So I live in Tanzania, but I'm originally from Kenya, but I'm married to a Tanzanian, so I live in Tanzania.
So tell us about Malik and his start, and your journey with his birth and development and all of that.
Where do I start? It was a pretty normal pregnancy, no hiccups, no nothing. When I started labor, we got to the hospital and they induced me. Much later now, I've learned about induction and how some different medication can react to different people, but we really didn't know there was an issue with the baby until when he was about 4 months and he wasn't reaching his milestones. So we started, wondering why. And we started visiting hospitals, and we did about 5 hospitals, and all of them were like, no, he's just lazy, he's fine, he's gonna reach his milestones. But he wasn't reaching for toys, his neck was still not firm. So finally we saw a doctor that diagnosed him with a mild cerebral palsy. And I would say that is where our journey started. And it's at that point that he asked, how was your birth? Was it normal? Was it difficult? Were you induced? And he explained that he must have lacked oxygen a bit at that particular moment. So we knew now what the cause was, and we started therapy when he was now about 7 months. So by then he wasn't sitting, he wasn't rolling over. We got a therapist. I don't know how it works out there, but here there are therapists that you can find at public hospitals, but you will not get the quality that you want. So you've got to dig into your pocket, because a lot of insurance, again, don't pay for therapy. And then we got a private therapist who would come to our house. And so we've been on therapy since he was 7 months. Now he is 4 years and November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and 7 months. So he's 4 years and 7 months now. So he started independently at about 14 months. He took the first steps, I would say, at around 3 years. Then he stopped taking the steps completely for a couple of months. Then at about 3 years, 9 months, he started taking steps again. And now he's walking, now he's walking. His gait is not like 100%, but he's walking. And, it's exciting. There are things, of course, along the journey that one of our neurologists had told us he's never gonna do. He's not, she'd said the part of his brain that is affected means that he's never gonna love music. He will not recognize us. But he's overcome that. And for us, we've learned to live a day at a time, a day at a time. We enjoy the milestones, no matter how small. Of course, to other people with neurotypical kids, it looks like it's normal, It's normal that your child is now taking the sippy cup and they can, do the sack lift reflex. But when you have a HIE baby, you know that each and every milestone, even inch stone, counts. And I would say for us in Africa, it's a bit more complicated. At least when people are maybe in Europe, they understand the concept of it's medical. But here, a lot of people go to, oh, it's witchcraft. Why don't you go and do this? Everyone has their own solutions to your problems, take them to the pastor, they can be prayed, do this, do that. So we've just learned to lock out negative energy. And for this, I'm extremely grateful to my husband because he's been, like my rock. We've been each other's rock, basically. And we've been able to cheer each other and just encourage each other when we have felt like, oh, it's getting a bit difficult. So yeah, so basically, maybe unless now you ask questions, Betsy, it's taken time to be able to talk about it without crying. But I'd say I have healed now that I can talk about this and not cry. Initially, I'd cry a river. Whenever I'd start talking, I'd cry a river. But now I'm easy.
Well, and I think that's such a universal part of all of our journeys, and that, it's very difficult. None of us expect to have children that have disabilities or differences or challenges that are outside of that neurotypical realm. And yeah, it is so hard for us to process that as parents, for sure. I love to hear about, your family dynamics and that you have this amazing support. And I'd love to hear more about, I know you connected with the Hope for HIE community. So can you talk a little bit about, how you first found us and, what those connections have brought to your journey as well?
So I'm married to one man, my college sweetheart. So we've been together for about 14 years. We have a 12-year-old. And after the 12-year-old girl, we have Malik, who is 4 years and 7 months. Then we have a son who is 1 year, 7 months. Then we have another child on the way. So I'd say for me, my biggest support system has been my husband. He's been the one person that I know if I'm having any fears, I could go to. He's the one person I know he can look at me and know I am having a low day. I can give our son one look and he would understand what it means. Maybe I'm thinking, what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda. So for me, he's been my greatest support system. And also our other kids have been a really good support system for our son, They play with him, and especially when we got the younger ones. And this is something maybe I'd encourage someone who's had a HIE baby and is really afraid and wondering, can I have a child? And then they turn out neurotypical. What if there's that fear? But I'd say for us, our youngest son has been like my husband is giving me a word, but he has walked away, so I didn't hear the word. He's really motivated Malik to do stuff, they fight, they love on each other, they play. So it's been like some sort of motivation. He can see his younger brother now is walking, so he's trying harder. He can see the younger brother is doing this. So I'd say for the younger child has also been really, a good motivation. And their elder sister is also super amazing. So I'd say my entire family, my circle, they are my peeps. They're the people that keep me rooted to the ground. How did I find out about HIE? When we got our diagnosis, I was depressed. I just wanted to know that there's someone out there who, is going through the same. So I actually just typed on, I found out, I tried to find, what is the scientific word of when a child lacks oxygen during birth? And I found out what it was. And so I typed the whole, I can't even pronounce HIE, by the way, in full. I'm African.
It's so a mouthful. I typed on Facebook. It's hard.
A mouthful, So I typed it on Facebook, and this group was the first one that that popped up. And so then when I saw that it wasn't even based in Africa, I was like, oh, would they accept me? And then Betsy accepted, and I got in. And for me, I remember the first few days, I would literally sleep going through posts, They were so encouraging. There were stories that made you realize you are not in this journey alone. There are other people that have been there. There are other people that are working with you. So for me, I can't even explain what this group did for me. And then I introduced my husband to it. So he'd also, read through posts, and then we'd see something and we're like, oh, by the way, this is like our son. It's like you find a community. You're not together. These are not even people you know, but you feel it's doable, It's actually doable. And I've also gotten ideas even from the group. As I mentioned earlier, resources here are not as much as you people. You have, I don't know, aid from the government. You have this, you have that. Well, here it's not like that, but you get to have ideas. I even got to know insoles. There are things that I'm even the one who was pointing out to our therapist. Oh, by the way, can we try ABCD? I saw in a group that you can cast the legs to remove tiptoeing. So I cannot be able to explain how much resourceful this group has been to me. My son now is using memo shoes. I also got that from the group. So I talked to a friend in the US, and she bought the shoes for me and she sent them over. And when he doesn't want to do AFOs, then we have something to try. Without this group, I don't know where I would get it. I don't know. Here, when people get people with disability, children with disability, they tend to, shy away from talking about it. It's some sort of a taboo. So it's hard to find an open community where people share their struggles and they say, hey, by the way, me, my child is even using a YouTube, or my child does not do ABCD. So for me, HIE has been that group that you can let loose. It's actually the only group I've even ever posted about my son's conditions, not even on my personal Facebook page, because there are things that it's only someone who's walking the journey that would understand, and not one else would understand. So for me, that has been HIE. And so thank you, Betsy. Thank you for, coming up with this amazing community. You just have no idea how many lives you've touched. I don't know.
That's so sweet of you. And this is exactly why we do what we do, right? Like this is, I know that you've connected, I think, with one of our other parents in particular, that I've seen you, chat back and forth with in the group a little bit. And it's truly, some of the connections that I made early on were not people in my backyard either. One of my closest, moms that I became close with was from Australia. And we had an opportunity a few years ago to meet up when she was traveling to New York City. And I made sure, that I could meet up with her. And it's really incredible the impact that, people can have on you that are halfway around the world. But like you said, we all have this commonality and we come together and share this information to help. And I just, I'm so glad that this has been so helpful for you. That's exactly why, people give so much to connect people, and you're such a wonderful part of the community. My next question, I think, is what can we do what do you see that, the HIE community can do to increase access to more families that, might not have as many, resources to connect to technology and things like that. We're always looking at how we can connect with either different organizations or different, support to better connect people and have, that unique information sharing to improve everyone's quality of life.
I would say if it was possible, I don't know how possible it is, but if it was possible to come up with like what we would call a small committee of people that represent different countries or different continents. Yeah, let me talk of continents probably, and different countries in those continents. Then it would be easier for them, because in much as people don't talk about disabilities so openly, let's say for instance in Africa, there are still groups that actually do. So it is still, if for instance I'm in a committee, I can be able to point out, oh, there's a group that I know that would probably, benefit from this. But then it would need to be like an organization of people that have the same mind, that we want to reach out to more people. And then you act like the focal point to reach out to those people. I work in the NGO world, so I know more about advocacy. I'm an advocate. I should have said that when we started.
So yeah, please tell me more about your advocacy work. I'd love to hear this.
So so I am an advocate. I was admitted to the Kenyan bar in 2012. Then I moved to Tanzania in 2016, and I work for an organization called Pan-African Lawyers Union. We are an organization that is in 53 African countries, and we basically push for good governance and rule of law in the continent. So we have regional courts and we have continental courts. So we do not litigate at national level, but we do what there's a court in Europe, I think, that is now like your regional court. I'm forgetting the name. So in Africa, we have the African Court on Human and People's Rights, which then now covers every country that is in the African Union. So we bring cases against countries that are violating rule of law and good governance in the continent. So that is what I do. So of course, we work with a lot of other advocacy groups, and that's why when it comes to reaching out, I'm passionate about it, because I know it's how we touch lives. It's one community to another community through people who are willing to bring people together. So yes.
That's amazing. That's incredible work. You should be so proud of that. You don't get into this type of work unless you have that personal passion to improve things. And that is, I hope that as we move forward, we can work closer together and see where we can bring better access and connection to more families.
I totally agree, Betsy. For instance, I see even in the group, there are times that there are parents who want to give out equipment, and I know for a fact, if we had focal people in in different areas of the world, these are equipments that could help so many children. What would seem very readily available, for instance, in the States, is totally unavailable in some countries. Someone has outgrown their AFOs, and there are many of them, but it's very few people who actually can afford them. I may have the resources to get my son equipment, but there are countless other parents who do not have that chance. Yes, they want to get the equipment, but they just cannot afford it. If someone is living below $1 a day, and you're telling them, oh, by the way, you could buy AFOs for, let's say, even $50, they just simply don't have them, So I would really, if ever there's a chance to reach out to the community and find people who need help, and even if it's arranging about shipping and everything, I would really be interested when it comes to Tanzania and Kenya, which is my home country and is next door. I have had to also get some equipment from there. So yeah, I don't know. It would really be nice if we had ways of sharing, especially that I've even seen workers, the workers that, especially the children that don't have any back control needs. Yeah, as extremely expensive here. Very few people. And my husband is reminding me about even advocating and teaching people about disability, that it's not witchcraft. If they saw that it happens even in Europe, we could even just have a Zoom call and you talk to people and you just tell them this thing is medical. It's got nothing to do with your grandmother did ABCD back in 1922, and so it's come back to haunt you. It takes away that stigma that comes with disability. When we took our son to school, it was strange that even some of the people that are learned, our family members, like, oh, even these ones go to school, because it's so normal here. When a child has a little disability, that's it. Your life is done. You just stay at home and do nothing. And yet I see at HIE kids who actually have like severe HIE, and they've gone all the way to university, and you're like, oh my God, I wish people knew how capable these children are. It's got nothing to do with the fact that their gait is upside down or looks like it's at 20 instead of 100, I don't know how we would do it, but yeah. I think you get what I mean, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, definitely, stigma with disability. And we talk, I think there's a lot of people in the US or in Europe that, the stigma is like, you didn't pray hard enough, or, they bring religion into it. And when you talk about witchcraft, I think that's like a similar thing where people think it's like karma or whatever you want to call it has created this disability. And we, like from science and what we know, like, obviously things just happen, human beings, disability has always existed. It probably always will, but we know how much great potential our kids can have when they're given the right tools. So yeah, I think exploring more ways of how we can get some of this equipment, which we know, I just think of my own, my own son, like we had a gait trainer and a walker and an adaptive bike, and he's outgrown all of those. We've passed those on to other families that might not have access here, but how can we get those to people that have additional needs that absolutely a barrier? For here, it's like, okay, I'm passing it along because it might take 6 to 8 months to get, but if that need is greater somewhere else, I would much rather send that. Or like the AFOs, like you mentioned, that's a huge one. That's always a conversation that our families are asking, like, where can we donate AFOs? Because, our kids are outgrowing them every 6 months or a year. I have a pile myself. I'm like, where do I send it to? So I'd love to explore how we can better, and it has to start somewhere. So let's start it where you are. Let's find, where we can do that.
When Malik outgrows his stuff, we give them to his therapist, because the therapist has several kids that, she also attends to that do not have access to this equipment. And I know for a fact they've passed some of them, like there was a chair we made for his back. We passed that. We've done a pillow for him to learn how to crawl. We passed that. We had a walker. We passed that. Same with apples. And then we had done something for the neck all the way down to the spine. So but you see, it's just one item, because it's just us. I don't even think there's anyone else who passes to her things. But then she has so many kids around her that unfortunately then, you can only help one when you have one equipment. When you have one equipment, you can only go to one child. But you can imagine when you have a large community of about 6,000 families that have things they have outgrown and they can share, you would touch the world, literally. And I know it's possible, because I know there are so many parents that are willing to give out, because they don't do anything with them anyway. You've outgrown them. So yeah.
I love that. And yeah, I think we can do a lot of work there, and just like, like we talked about, just starting somewhere and seeing how we can support and get those, shipped over. And, the thing about this durable medical equipment in particular is that it is durable, and more than one child can use it, and it can be successful. So that's, I think, when we see that, and, our own equipment, walkers can be used by many, many, many different children, with them lasting without breaking.
Betsy, sorry, I forgot to ask, how old is your HIA child?
Yeah, so Max,
you don't mind me asking.
No, absolutely. Max just turned 9. So Max, he has cerebral palsy, so mild spastic diplegic cerebral palsy, so mostly affecting his legs. And he was late to walk. He used a gait trainer for a little while, and then a walker. And then he started walking independently just after he turned 3. And he has a mild vision impairment. So he has glasses, and then he gets accommodations in school, but he does very well in school. He's now in 3rd grade, and just, he's a happy kid. He loves to play basketball. He loves, like just all sorts of things, and exploring. We have a daughter who's younger. And so when you were talking about adding on to your family and how that sibling, dynamic works, I just could not ask for a better sibling relationship with my kids. And, they both learn from each other in so many ways. Over here for Easter, they were doing their Easter egg hunt, and, like my daughter is very fast and neurotypical, and she knows that Max needs a little bit of time, to find things. And, doesn't have to be a race. So she started, going really fast to get her eggs. And then she noticed that Max was having a harder time. And so she stopped what she was doing to help him, but it wasn't in a, kind of condescending way. It was in a genuine care and love to make sure that there was equity between the two of them. And she's 5. So I thought that, for being so young, having that awareness was just really amazing. And then I think about how she's going to do that for, other things in her life, just from what she's learning, being a sibling to a child with a disability. So it's really amazing. When Max was born, we didn't know how things were going to go. And I have my mom's cousins have a son with a pretty severe motor CP. So, he's in a wheelchair at age 32, but he lives pretty independently and can get around. He lives in Chicago, so there's lots of public transportation and things like that. And one of the best pieces of advice she gave us is she said, Justin was our first baby, and the best gift we ever gave him were siblings. So, they went on to have 2 more babies after him. And I've grown up with them. He's only a couple years younger than me. And to see their sibling relationship, because it's scary to think after HIE, like, oh, can this happen again? And to just bounce off of and affirm what you said earlier, it's, it can be very scary. But yeah, seeing that sibling relationship is just really magical. And I'm so excited for you to, add on to your family more and hear more stories of how your whole family, continues to grow. And yeah, it's so wonderful.
That's so sweet. And sorry, he got his speech at what age?
He actually never really he had like some articulation delays. So like how he, spoke words, but he was kind of like on the later end of normal with speech, but never qualified for like speech therapy or anything. So that was something that actually was just not as much of a struggle, but he did have feeding issues a lot, like when he was, until probably age 4. And so we were in with an occupational therapist to do feeding therapy with him, because just he'd fatigue, like eating was just such a chore. He'd get so tired because of his oral motor skills. So we worked a lot on learning, like how to chew and swallow and, all of those things. And now he's 9 and he's like, eating us out of house and home, which is like, we always wondered and hoped that would happen. So now he's like, doesn't stop eating. But for the longest time, it was a struggle.
Malik has never had an issue with eating. He loves to eat, like ever since. But you know how it is with our kids. So they achieve one thing and then you move the goalpost to you want to achieve the next thing. So now we are at that point now that we are just crossing our fingers and hoping that speech comes. He has a few words, but nothing like concrete, no sentence, no nothing. So we are at that point. His therapist. No, that's another different thing. Here we don't have access to very many different therapists, especially because I live in a small town. If I lived maybe in a bigger town like Dar es Salaam, I live in a small town called Arusha, maybe I would have more access. Nairobi also has more access to speech therapists, physiotherapists, and occupational therapists. But you find here when a therapist is doing one thing, they're doing everything. So it's the same therapist doing speech, doing physio. So his therapist now is concentrating more on just stimulating his mouth muscles to see now if he'll be able to pronounce the words better. So yeah. So my son, I'm passionate.
Absolutely.
I'm so passionate. It's a topic that is so dear to my heart because it's not something that you get to share with a lot of people all the time, So when you get to talk about it, you really talk about it.
Well, I'm so glad that we could do this and that you were able to join and share your story today. This is just another, I just love that we're able to share different perspectives in our community and start this project. And I'm just so grateful again that you were able to join and be such a wonderful part of our community. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can work on some of the things we talked about today, for sure.
Okay, Betsy. I'll be looking forward to as well.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Hope for HIE's official podcast, Just Say HIE. If you have a story you'd like to share, be sure to keep in touch. Learn more about the work we do and sign up for our newsletter on our website at hopeforhie.org/justsayhie. We look forward to connecting with you soon, and thanks for listening.